All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We got Mike Murphy in the house, Murphy Auto Group, coming up in just a moment. Before we do, we always like to tell you something good.
Tell me something good.
All right, our feel-good story of the day. Amy Spindler is bound to her wheelchair but can't move on her own due to cerebral palsy. But thanks to Claudia McCoy, Amy is able to do what she loves. Claudia runs with Amy, pushing her in the race chair. The two first met back in 2012 and set their sights on running the Boston Marathon one day. They ran the Gasparilla Half Marathon together in 2019 as a way to work toward that goal. After that, they gradually began running longer distances to train for their first full marathon together at St. Petersburg Distance Classic. The duo competed in the marathon in just over 3.5 hours, beating not only the qualifying time for the Boston Marathon, but their own personal goal. Claudia said it was Amy's inspiration that carried them through the finish line. Amy parents said it's unbelievable accomplishment, but they had no doubt the two of them can do it. And it was such an amazing moment, Amy's mother said. So there you have it, our feel-good story of the day. Wheelchair duo fulfills their dream of qualifying for the Boston Marathon. All right, Mike Murphy back in studio. Welcome back.
Great to be back.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Got the go you, the U there.
Yeah, and my XFL hat.
Nice. Okay.
So, repping the Orlando Guardians. It's going to be a great season. We got, beginning of the season right here.
That's interesting. So XFL, and then you got the USFL. I saw those, commercials throughout the NFL, season kind of wrapping there. So
it's kind of like baseball. At least my interpretation of it is. So I think the USFL is going to turn into basically AA.
Okay.
And then the XFL will be kind of AAA. Okay. So as you see the talent start to pool together. Right. I think the XFL is going to have a great 10 weeks, and then there's about a 2-week overlap, and then you have the USFL. So they will not be competing against each other.
Right. Kind of a feeder system, in other words.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe 11 people from USFL 2022 made and stayed on rosters this NFL season.
Okay. That's cool, man. Yeah.
It is.
Interesting. All right, so what's happening in the Murphy Auto Group space and in the auto industry?
Well, for us, we're very, very excited about 2023. The momentum of 2022 for us has stayed. Now, as an industry, we've seen it shift. Okay. Interest rates are up yet again, another quarter point a few weeks ago, and of course, that's going to not affect rates by a quarter point, by more than a quarter point, as people build margins into these things. Right. Inflation still lowering to 6%, but think about that. That's 6% year over year, and last year was a bloodbath. I would wonder what year over year could be. Right. So obviously everything's costing more to build these cars, and people's credit scores are going down. You're seeing repos go up. So now our banks are lending a little more frugally. So you combine that with the fact it's tax season, your used car is worth more now than it'll ever be. It's only going to go down from here, unfortunately.
Really? Interesting. That is interesting. Are you seeing a lot more trade-ins now?
We're starting to see more high-mile trade-ins. So we've seen people buying stuff because they wanted to, because they had a little extra stimulus cash, and now we're seeing need purchases where people are coming in because, let's be honest, these trades are falling apart.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. And I see more and more commercials out there for these the e-vehicles, electric vehicles.
Yeah, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because they're not building any of them. So they're advertising stuff that isn't going to affect the supply chain. It's amazing. If you look at EV sales and you add them all up and you maybe even double it, it's still less than 10% of our sales.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the electric vehicle stuff. I feel like, and even the Tesla, a few of my friends have Teslas. I'm like, man, from what I hear, it's a hassle to get it charged. Especially, and just think about worst case scenario in Florida. I've had to evacuate before. I lived in flood zone A one time, and it was like coming right at us, and I was like, I'm out of here, and. You can deal with the fuel lines because you're going to get fuel at some point, hopefully, right? But those electric vehicles, they scare me for that reason. One of my main reasons is to get out of town if you have to go.
I completely agree. You know who would agree with us is Akio Toyoda. Yeah. He was CEO of Toyota. He's now been promoted or ascended, I guess, to the chairman position. I don't know what the right verbiage is there. Yeah. But truly, he never put all his eggs in the EV basket. Right. A few years from now, we're going to look at Toyota and be very, very happy we didn't. Hydrogen has a place. Gasoline will always have a place. And I'd like to see the best of both worlds. Can you imagine a hybrid with Tesla's technology? You get 300 miles on a charge and then convert to a combustible engine. I think at some point we'll see a shift back to that world.
Well, that's what I wonder, too, as far as, don't have the engineering background or anything, but if you had gasoline powering fuel, like I've got a Mercedes SUV, and so you start with the gasoline, but as you're turning the wheels and you're turning that vehicle for however long, it seems like there could be or should be some kind of mechanism inside that says, hey, let's generate some while we're turning.
Kind of interesting. You're very close. So the original hybrid technology was using batteries first. So the batteries got you from 0 to 12, which in the laws of physics, the hardest thing to do is take a stationary object and put it in motion.
Got it.
So then by switching to combustible engine or gas burning to go from 12 to 120 is a lot easier because it's already in motion.
Right.
Now, as the vehicle slows down, you get, energy through the brakes that can recharge the battery. So I think all this stuff has a place, but I just think that it's foolish in pretty much anything to say this way's right and this way's wrong. Most things are like a good cocktail. You need one part mixer, one part booze to make the perfect beverage.
There you go. And if you just joined us, we're talking with Mike Murphy Auto Group here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Mike is our auto industry expert. What else is relevant right now? Relevant topic. What are you seeing out there, Mike?
Well, I think here's the big thing. Tax season started a little bit early, even though you have an extra month in Florida to file because of the hurricane. We're seeing the tax money hit into the market already. So used cars valuations are high because of that. Now, because it entered early, it should dry up earlier. So those people that used to hold on to their car till after tax season need to be thinking about trading it in March.
Okay.
It'll be worth more than ever. So here's the other thing I see. In interest rates continuing to go up. If we look at just T-bills yield curve, 6 months from now, it's got the highest rates. So it looks like if you want to hedge your bet on interest, now's the time to do it. If you wait again 6 months to buy a car, you're basically penalizing yourself a half an interest point. Most people keep cars 4 years. What is that cost of borrowing? So these are all things that you should grab a calculator and figure out what's best for you and your family. I believe car ownership's about total cost of ownership.
Right.
And that's insurance, that's fuel, that's your car payment. And that's why I love my business model. Like Murphy Auto Group, 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty, up to 4 years of free maintenance, a 72-hour exchange policy, and we sell Toyotas that, as you know, get amazing fuel economy.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, Toyota's a great brand, absolutely. Now, you got multiple locations locally in this listening audience. We're, from Fort Myers all the way to Fort Myers, Naples, over to Orlando. We're talking about right there at I-20, US 27.
Yeah, so I'm very close to I-4 and 27. We're in Haines City, Miracle Toyota in Haines City. Fantastic location. We've got 2 great deals going on for the month of February. Number one is if you come get your vehicle appraised, we're going to give you 2 tickets to any Orlando Guardians game of your choice. Now, I prefer you guys come to the next one. That's the one I'll be at. But you can use them for any game, so that's exciting. Plus, we have local tax services in-house to aid you in your taxes. So you can come in for an oil change, get your tax done.
Cool.
Come get your taxes done, use it as a down payment on a car. So all those are exciting reasons to come to Miracle Toyota in Haines City.
Nice. I like that. And, so the general economy, we were kind of talking just a bit ago. What do you see kind of happening here in, the second part of 23 here? What do you see happening?
Oh, yeah, Murphy-Domus time, right? I'm convinced that we're in for another recession. I personally think Q1, I can feel it. When you see fraudulent claims go up, when you see crime go up the way you have, and you see these other key performance indicators, we can keep changing what's in the basket, but the average person's struggling. And I think that's why it's so important now to look at your cost of vehicle ownership.
I want to get your take on this clip I'm going to play here about artificial intelligence. This is relating to Chat GPT.
We've seen examples of computer programs answering basic questions and mimicking human conversations, but there's never been a program quite like this for mass use. Some industry leaders say that it's the most consequential tech product made available to the public since the iPhone debuted back in 2007.
Yeah, it's really shaken the world here. So beyond the fun stuff the program can do, what are the practical applications?
Well, there are the obvious uses like customer service, where these new chatbots could help eliminate the need for massive call centers with hundreds of employees who can only take one call at a time. You could use the technology also to help with data entry and other monotonous research. It could help accountants and engineers. The list really does go on. But ultimately, because we're in the early stages of development, we're still just not totally sure how to best use the technology.
Yeah, so artificial intelligence, lots of talk about it. The concern for me is, who programs the AI, right? And I mean more along the lines of, is it going to have biblical values, Christian values, or is it going to have woke progressive values? That's what I worry about when it comes to AI.
Yeah. I mean, is AI non-binary? We will never know, right?
Exactly.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And we don't plan this stuff ahead of time, but you would think it, because I just replaced a few of my key important accounting functions, not people, with AI. There's a company out there called Acumatic, and each manufacturer, so I own Toyota, Nissan, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealerships, they all send us these reports that we used to print out, and then somebody, at $11, $12, $15 an hour is key data entering all this information in.
Wow.
Now, with AI, we click on the file as it comes through the email, we drag it to Acumatic, we drop it, we have about enough time to take a sip of water, it pops out, and we drag it into our dealer management software, our DMS, and it's done.
That's cool.
So we save about 40 hours a month between our 5 stores.
Wow.
And that's just basic, like just put the bananas with the bananas, put the apples with the apples, the cats with the
Right.
dogs. So that's the type of AI stuff I see them replacing first, is like the most granular, basic, mind-numbing tasks that us humans do.
Like they said, monotonous in that clip. I mean, that's something that could, that makes sense. That's a win-win. That's, time saving, and it is, and
it's also a big word for an ACC guy. So I had to make up my own.
There you go. All right, we got about 45 seconds left. Give us your final thoughts on the auto industry, how folks can catch up with you, social media, and such.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way to stay informed is to keep up with me on social media. Real Mike Murphy on Instagram. Real Mike Murphy on Twitter. You can also follow a lot of our information and our teachings at realmikemurphy.com. And when it comes to vehicles, miracletoyota.com for the state of Florida. And anywhere outside of the state of Florida, feel free to go to murphyautogroup.com.
murphyautogroup.com. And always a pleasure catching up with you. And, a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, artificial intelligence, what's going to happen with Taiwan. We didn't get into the whole chips and the microchips and all the different...
Or balloons.
Yeah, balloons. We skipped right over balloons today.
Well, you got to have me back. I'd love to come back and we'll talk about all things floating and not floating.
There we go. We'll do that. All right, good stuff, Mike. Thanks for coming in, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks to Brent Schreiber as well, Sam McCown, business coach, and, of course, Mike Murphy. We want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Ryan.